Hello and welcome to Terraria, but gambling, using this website here. And so this website has a weapons list of every weapon that you can get during that point of the game. So example, pre-hard mode, I can get the Rich Mahogany Bow, and that would be a weapon for me or my friend for that next fight. So for example, if I had to do King Slime, and for the next fight I would have to use the Tungsten Short Sword. And then I would do it again, and then my friend would have to use the flint staff. So basically, it just allows you to pick a random weapon, and for each boss, you're able to reroll once for whatever weapon you get, in case it's like soft lock, but that's about it. For this fight, it will look a bit different, and that's because the footage for when we fought this the first time is gone, so the one you're watching now is from a later time. But either way, the weapons we had for this fight were originally the Amazon and the flint staff. Both of these are pretty solid weapons, considering that the Cthulhu can easily be beat with ranged weapons and or summons. He also really over-prepared for this fight by having like a big arena, good armor, and mobility, so it was pretty easy. I personally think that the Eater of Worlds is one of the easiest bosses in the game, especially if you have a melee or piercing weapon. Usually if you have enough health, regen, and defense, then you're able to tank the boss without taking too much damage, especially in expert mode. For this boss, we had the zombie arm and tin short sword, which are both not the best melee weapons, but should be easy enough, or so I thought. Yeah, somehow we died on the first attempt, and still looking back, I don't know why, or in this next attempt what we did differently. It kinda just looks like we dealt more damage and dodged slightly more. That's about it. I would also like to point out that allegedly this is the first time that I've been the Eater of Worlds, even though in other save files I've killed it a couple hundred times. But yeah, I have no clue. Oh yeah, we also did the Goblin Army. That's cool. I'm gonna be 100% honest, I don't remember doing Queen Bee in this playthrough at all. Regardless, our weapons for this fight are the Silver Bow and the Volcano. Now the Volcano is a very strong weapon because it explodes on contact, it's very big, and sets things on fire. And the Silver Bow is ranged. Yeah, that's about it. This side's pretty easy because the honey allows for healing pools, so yeah. Okay, Skeletron is the first roadblock that we had. This was the first required time boss that we had to go up against, and the loadout is not promising. Do you remember the weapons we had for the Cthulhu fight? Yeah, those are our current weapons for the Skeletron fight. The extremely weak Snowball and Ruler. I had no clue either of these weapons existed, and it's safe to say I'll probably never use them again. On the first attempt, I was doing close to no damage, and my friend had to regenerate his health to deal damage. Luckily, for me though, we decided to re-roll the weapons, and I got the Mandible Blade, which can be dropped from underground desert enemies, but it still took over an hour just to get this pretty common weapon, and it was only marginally better than the Ruler. So that wasn't great. But we then decided to move our spawn point, get a bat statue, get better accessories, and made the arena larger. We still lost initially, but with our morales on all-time high, we got their try. I know. This is not the Wall of Flesh. This is Deerclops, and unfortunately, here's my next weapon, which is the Weather Pain. The only pain that happened was not dealt to the Wall of Flesh, but rather the pain of fighting this boss so many times. It's absurd how many times you had to kill just to get a mid-tier weapon. It took 6 kills just to get one. And because there's 2 of us, it's double the odds. Anyways, let's take a look at this weapon's extremely high damage. Yeah, it does almost no damage because the Hungry blocked it shots. Oh yeah, I forgot, my friend's weapon is the Harpoon, which you got from the Goblin Invasion earlier, and it also gets blocked by the Hungry. Believe it or not, we lost. But that's just a test run with no potions, so surely it will go much better when we have potions and the best accessory that a lot of people don't talk about, the Bone Glove. The Bone Glove is an accessory that shoots out a bone projectile whenever you shoot a ranged weapon, and it has a cooldown. You may think it doesn't do much damage, which it doesn't, but it has piercing damage, which actually allows us to hit the boss, and over the entire course of health, we're able to kill it in time. Skeletron Prime is next, and I hate this guy. He's the worst boss for me to fight out of all the mechanical bosses, as you can tell by me immediately dying. But after buffing, we're off to the races with the Sky Fracture and Format C. Both of these weapons are pretty solid hard mode weapons. Solid early hard mode weapons. So far this challenge run hasn't been the hardest, even if it took us 60 hours total. But most of that time was just spent farming, so it doesn't really count. I will say this run has allowed us to use some armor sets and weapons we normally wouldn't. I don't think I've ever seen or used the Sky Fracture before, but it's a cool weapon and also does good damage. Either way, my 20% accuracy aim trainer is done and Skeletron Prime goes down. Destroyer is such a silly boss fight in my opinion. I always think he's the easiest mechanical boss to kill because he's similar to the Eater of Worlds. And dude, do you see the damage Gungear is outputting? Destroyer is already halfway killed before it even knows what's going on. Also, my friend got another yo-yo, the Hellfire, which is where some of the 60 hours comes from because you just have to kill stuff in the underworld and it took a while. And of course, as tradition, all of our NPCs are destroyed. But that's another one down. After quickly fishing up the Crystal Serpent, and by the way, who is fishing for the Crystal Serpent? Granted, it was really easy, it's actually a pretty decent mage weapon. I still don't think anyone uses it. My friend got Durandal, which isn't the worst weapon, but if he doesn't have any summons, then it doesn't do much damage. I'd also like to point out that the Forbidden Armor set, allowing you to spawn Sand Tornado, it's really cool. And something that I think gets overlooked a lot. Either way, my now 2% accuracy ancient are locked in and we're able to beat the fiends. Next up's Plantera, who's just some fragile plant and isn't much of a threat in comparison to some of the other bosses. I feel bad for her because she's right after unlocking Glorified Armor and Life Fruit, which is a big power spike and she gets rolled almost every time. Although an upside to Plantera is that she unlocks a lot of other armor sets and changes the dungeon, which is cool. I got the Brand of the Inferno, which is a bizarre name for just being the volcano with bigger numbers. It took a couple old armies to complete as well. When combined with my friend's Glorified Saber, it was pretty easy enough, even if we were low at a lot of different times. Golem is kind of the laughing stock of Terraria because of how easy it is to defeat, which I don't fully get because the Eater of Worlds is right there. But either way, I don't hate Golem or his boss fight, even if it's easy. Maybe that's because we got the Cobalt Repeater and Gatligator, which are both ranged weapons and allows us to stay far away from the boss. And let me tell you, the Gatligator is such a fun weapon to get. Did you know it's part of the second rarest item group for the Traveling Merchant, which only appears in the early morning on some days? And yes, I said item group because there are other items like Sergeant's Shield, which I saw 3 times before the Gatligator. So yeah, that's where most of the 60 hours comes from. But yeah, I can kind of see why people don't like Golem, even if it was kind of easy. Cultist, yay! It's a relatively difficult boss if you're not paying attention and accidentally hit a clone. But luckily for me, I got the pulse bow, which thankfully we bought at the beginning of hard mode in case we got it later. So I could easily shoot the real boss, and so the boss fight went much smoother. Unluckily for my friend, he got the anchor, which is just an abysmal weapon. It's somehow ranged and takes time to get back to, which doesn't do much damage. Luckily I didn't have to deal with it. And it's back to the pulse bow, which has a unique property where no matter what arrow you use, it changes into a bouncy arrow, which is why we built walls around the arena so that way it could hit multiple times. Unfortunately, the boss did go outside the walls like a couple times, so maybe it wasn't the best idea to build such low walls, but we'll just is down. Influx waiver. Yep, we're having a declap situation all over again. But this time, instead of getting unlucky, we can't kill the ship, which means we can't get my friend's weapon. I mean, just look at this guy. He's even spawn camping our house, and that's just rude. It does so much damage. It can like predict where you're going. It's like absurd. Some point of time, I got my weapon, which was the Shadow Flame Bow, and rerolled it into the Festival Shard, which is a beginning hard mode weapon. Yeah, it's not going to be fun for Moonlord, but my friend's weapon is pretty good, and I know it's able to solo, so I figured everything should be fine. We were not fine, and this code shows how the first fights went in a nutshell. We were able to live for a decent while, but didn't really have the damage output to kill him in time, and most of the time we didn't even pop any of the eyes. So was that it? Were we destined to fail? Yes, but I mean, not entirely. We had one thing up our sleeves, something every gamer hopes to achieve at some point, something that would allow us to beat Moonlord. Actually thinking. So I found a setup online, and decided to make some adjustments so that it would be really easy for both of us to beat Moonlord. Basically, I made a setup where Moonlord's laser beam wouldn't be able to hit my friend, and he could use Influx's laser projectile to hit all the eyes. And luckily, the Crystal Ball Shard was able to attack through walls, so I didn't really need an arena in the open like he did. Now, my plan was simple. I would heal my friend using Spectre Armor, and he would be able to shoot down the boss. That's it. But the thing with Moonlord is that he has a damage check, which means if you don't do enough damage to the boss, he'll start healing. But also has a side effect where you aren't able to regenerate health, which was my entire plan, and while I was down below attempting to heal my friend, it was doing nothing. So my backup plan was to recreate a setup up above because I thought I was too far away, which didn't help at all because he still has the debuff. It went on for a bit, and eventually I decided to actually help do damage, even if I didn't have a backup plan for my healing strategy. So believe it or not, this eventually led to him dying, so I had to clutch up by technically avoiding the boss and preserving our run. Some may call it, cowardly running, but for me, I call it buying time for my teammate to respawn. Luckily, he was able to respawn, and we were both able to attack the core. And might I add during this part, why did he have the confetti equipped? It caused a ton of lag, and I couldn't see anything that was happening. But it was worth it, and the placements were good, and it couldn't damage us enough to kill us, and eventually, this happened. And that's it. That was our run of randomized weapons in Terraria. We may not have gotten the best luck, the worst luck, but it was still doable, and I'm happy to say that. I thought this was a lot of fun, and honestly, I recommend that you do it yourself with a friend because it allows you to see a lot of new weapons, armor sets, items that you wouldn't normally see. It allows you to have new strategies to beat the game. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope this inspires you to do your own runs. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.